Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today as we're talking about WWE's CROWN JEWEL pay-per-view coming up Halloween on Thursday. This is going to be an early afternoon pay-per-view for fans on the WWE Network that happen to have Thursday off. I can remember the first time the WWE Network ran an NXT TakeOver show live. It was from London is where it was, and the show actually started here on the West Coast at like 10 or 11 o'clock, and I thought that was one of the coolest things in the world, to be home from work, just watching a wrestling show in the early afternoon, basically giving me, from about 2 o'clock on, free time to do almost anything in the world that I wanted to. I know that a lot of people in the world do not have Thursdays as their day off, but I do think that it is a very cool alternative to know that if they stay off social media, they don't check into Twitter or Facebook, and stay spoiler-free, that they could have a wrestling show to start on demand, basically whenever they see fit to sitting down and watching the show. They could come home, and watch the show right off the bat. They could come home, read the newspaper, watch the news, and press a few buttons, and bam, there it is, live from Saudi Arabia, the CROWN JEWEL pay-per-view. I will say that as of right now, WWE has 6 matches lined up that have already been advertised as of right now. Almost all of the contracted WWE male wrestlers will be making the trip over from Raw and SmackDown. As you can remember, last year, WWE made huge bounds trying to get women pushed onto the show. I believe it was Natalya and Alexa Bliss made the trip to Saudi Arabia, but they were not able to talk the contracted people in charge to letting them have female wrestling featured on the show. So as of right now, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Bayley, none of the main eventers are featured for this show. But it would be a huge, huge deal to get women on the show. But as of right now, I don't think that it is going to happen. Right now, presently, Vince McMahon and Undertaker are on a tour of Saudi Arabia. I guess you can say doing media and getting people ready for WWE to come to town. As of right now, there is no Undertaker match announced, but if he's going to be there, you would think he is going to let his presence known somewhere on the CROWN JEWEL show. I don't see Undertaker traveling to Saudi Arabia just to shake some hands and kiss some babies for Vince McMahon. But then again, he was at WrestleMania this year, and we didn't see him besides for the Monday Night Raw night after WrestleMania affair. When I look at the CROWN JEWEL pay-per-view right now and the 6 matches that have been announced, the only match that really has my attention is Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez for the WWE Championship. WWE, are they really going to put the WWE Championship? To me, being a kid who started watching wrestling in the 80s, the WWE Championship draws lines back to the same title that was held by Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I understand that the Universal Championship, because of its ties to Monday Night Raw and Raw being the A show, it tends to be the number 1 title in the company. As of right now, the big push on SmackDown, with Brock Lesnar being the WWE Champion, are they basically switching that the WWE Championship now is the main thing? Cain Velasquez coming into WWE after a pretty hyped UFC career. I'm pretty sure he was their heavyweight champion at one point. And Cain coming in, basically being somebody who had beat Brock Lesnar in UFC. Brock, basically, when he's taken that championship, has had very long reigns, besides for his last one, where he upset Seth Rollins, cashing in the Money in the Bank, only to be defeated, I believe, at the next pay-per-view, only having like a 1-month run with the belt. But Brock versus Cain Velasquez being the main event tends to be the one match that I really think that I'm going to care about. You know, when it looks at the Universal Championship match of Rollins versus The Fiend Bray Wyatt in a Falls Count Anywhere match that cannot be stopped for any reason, I don't really think that that match really matters in the long run, because the fact that WWE has cried wolf with these Saudi Arabia and Australia shows not really having championships change hands, even though I think that most of us thought that the first show from Saudi Arabia was going to having a whole huge deal of championships change hands, just to show WWE fans that the Saudi Arabia shows do mean something, and they are shows that are more than house shows than people really need to see. But in the long run, nothing really happened. So I don't think we're going to see the championship change hands, because if it did, Bray Wyatt would be bringing the belts over to the SmackDown brand, the same show that Brock Lesnar seems to hold down. But as of right now, I guess it is possible that Rollins could lose to Bray. Bray could take the Universal Championship to SmackDown. And at the same time, Cain Velasquez could win the WWE Championship. And to keep Cain and Brock away from each other, Cain could sign to the Monday Night Raw brand. Both shows have championship belts. And Cain Velasquez's career in WWE, it said that he signed a 3 or 4 year deal. Starts off with him being champion in his first match. And it starts off, you know, in the biggest possible way. In my opinion, that would be horrible, because I don't see Cain Velasquez at this point in his career being a every Monday Night Raw kind of guy. I seem to think that he's probably on the same deal that Brock Lesnar would be on. We're only going to see him Survivor Series, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, and an occasional pay-per-view that they just pull him out of the hat and put him on. So the show is also hyped by Tyson Fury making his WWE debut against Braun Strowman. This is a very weird match as well, yeah, because Braun Strowman being a babyface, Tyson Fury being a celebrity, two guys that just can't seem to be in the same room together, so they're going to get in there and they're going to slug it out. Braun doesn't really lose in WWE all that much, but then again, I don't really see Tyson Fury losing as well. But I still hold on that this match becomes some sort of clusterfuck, and both guys end up becoming friends in the end. Maybe they just stand there and they just punch the crap out of each other, trading blows until they just earn respect for each other, and they just go after some sort of outside source that interferes in the match, that maybe they're upset that they didn't get a match on the pay-per-view. From there we go to Team Hogan versus Team Flair. This match is a 5-on-5. I was really thinking this was going to be some sort of like Survivor Series deal, but it looks like it's just going to be a regular tag match. We're going to find the last member of Team Flair on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. But as of right now, I mean, the star power is all over Team Flair. When it comes down to names, I think that Flair has Hogan beat, but there's no way. Hogan must pose. He has to get the win here, especially with Roman Reigns being on his team. So the card fills out basically with Mansoor, who's from Saudi Arabia, against Cesaro. I don't really care about this match at all. Mansoor, of course, is the guy that won the Battle Royal on the last Saudi Arabia show. And then also to add hype and get all of the tag teams onto the show, since they're not having the Battle Royal Rumble this year, they are having the largest tag team turmoil match in the history of WWE. We are going to have basically AJ Styles is involved in this match. All right, whatever. You had the OC, you have the Revival, Hawkins and Ryder. You have the Lucha House Party. They're a trio as well. You've got the B Team. You've got Heavy Machinery, the New Day, the War Machine, and you have Rude and Ziggler in there. You would think that they possibly are going to give somebody a title shot coming out of this. So, You would think that maybe they're going to give the happy ending to Heavy Machinery getting the win here, or maybe possibly the New Day. But in the long run, I think that this match is just supposed to eat up time on the pay-per-view, trying to make it look like it's a full show. And I'll go with one of them to get the win. I don't think it really matters. But I think for me, I'm going to check in with this show on Thursday. I want to see if they have the guts to put the title on the Fiend Bray Wyatt. If not, I think that his time in WWE is possibly dead, because, I mean, just so many times they've started and stopped with Bray Wyatt that it looks like this is just another WrestleMania 30 or maybe another WrestleMania 31 or, even, WrestleMania, what was that, 33 when he lost to Orton. They give him a big push. They don't know what to do with him, so they just have him lose. So that's Crown Jewel. I'm not overly excited, but we'll see what goes down with the show on the pay-per-view. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is CP Breach coming to you here today, talking about WWE's Crown Jewel pay-per-view. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Mansoor match against Cesaro. I know the least amount about this guy. I don't even know if that's the proper way to pronounce his name, Mansoor. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's pretty cheap that WWE is putting Mansoor in a match against Cesaro. I mean, it's pretty cool for Cesaro to have a singles match. But last year at the Crown Jewel pay-per-view, they had the world's biggest Royal Rumble gimmick deal, and Mansoor was the winner. A lot of people basically said that Mansoor only got the win because he wrestled in his homeland of Saudi Arabia. They wanted to push the hometown guy and put him over. And Mansoor is a guy that I honestly have not heard anything about since last year at the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. I haven't heard anything about him wrestling at NXT, at the Performance Center. I don't even know where this guy comes from. You would think that he's in the power plant wrestling, doing something for this company, and why they just break him out for these Saudi Arabia shows. But basically when it comes down to it, bet the farm on Mansoor to beat Cesaro at this show. And hopefully it's the opener, because I don't think anybody is looking forward to seeing this guy wrestle. Why they're going to chart him out and make him look like he's the hero of the show, getting a big win against a guy from the mid-card that definitely, if WWE would wake up, would notice has main event talent. And possibly only one of the reasons why he's not wrestling in the main event is maybe his hairline. And Vince McMahon maybe thinking that Cesaro looks too old to be a main guy, even though he's probably one of the best wrestlers on the main roster. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We're talking about the WWE Crown Jewel pay-per-view coming up Thursday. It's going to be on Halloween, live from Saudi Arabia. One of the, I guess you can say, co-main events of this show that is headlining it is Team Hogan versus Team Flair. Hogan and Flair came down to the ring on Monday Night Raw a few weeks ago, and it looked like these guys were going to go face-to-face, toe-to-toe right there, but instead drew out the rules of a 5-on-5 tag team match. It looks, as of right now, this is not going to be Survivor Series rules. This is going to be one fall, take all. Hulk Hogan not being able to wrestle in WWE due to the fact that he is going in for what he claims to be his last batch of surgeries, fixing the hip, fixing the leg, and he's hoping that can put him in a place that he can wrestle at WrestleMania, having one more final last match, in his words, against Vince McMahon, thinking that's the match that could probably bring the most money to the table. So Hogan and Flair both picked their own teams for this, even though from watching Raw and SmackDown, it kind of looked like the guys appointed themselves to the team. Ric Flair at some points even looked surprised that guys wanted to be on his team when they were coming out. As of right now, honestly, when it comes to name value, it looks like Ric Flair has the better team. Team captain by Randy Orton, followed up by King Corbin, Bobby Lashley, Shinsuke Nakamura, and one surprised tag team partner that is going to be named on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. The Team Hogan team has already been filled out. It's Roman Reigns, Rusev. We have Shorty Gable, Ali, and Ricochet. As of right now, even though the names are on Team Flair, I would be really surprised that a team captained by Roman Reigns, which was kind of a surprise. It kind of shows you that maybe WWE is trying to fix the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view as of right now, because of the fact that originally Seth Rollins was the team captain for Team Hogan. And then after the Bray Wyatt match was named, he was replaced by Roman Reigns, which sort of makes me wonder, was Roman and Seth Rollins supposed to be on this team? But I think the Team Hogan really has the great mixture of strength, power, and speed to overcome the heels. When it comes down to it, Crown Jewel is supposed to be a WrestleMania-style show. And, wouldn't it be a better thing for when this match ends to see, Team Hogan hulking up? Hogan must pose at the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. Roman and Hogan posing down. I want to see Rusev hit the good old, flex with Hogan. I think that's a better moment than basically the heels just getting a dastardly win. Honestly, in my opinion, my pick for Team Flair's last person would possibly be Drew McIntyre. As of right now, he was a very high pick in the Monday Night Raw draft for Raw and SmackDown. And for him not to really be anywhere on this card as of right now really surprises me. And I think that he would be the best guy to fill in there. So that's my guess who's going in there. But Team Hogan to beat Team Flair at Crown Jewel. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We're talking about the WWE CROWN JEWEL pay-per-view coming up in a few days. It's going to be on Thursday, on Halloween. I think it's a pretty early start here on the West Coast because it's coming to you live on the WWE Network from Saudi Arabia. On this show, they're housing a WWE Universal Championship match. This is going to be Seth Rollins against The Fiend. This is a rematch from WWE's Hell in the Cell 2019. The Hell in the Cell match ended up with a no contest, where basically, to everybody who watched the show, it looked like Seth Rollins got disqualified, but the referee just got to a point where Seth beat on The Fiend enough, and The Fiend wasn't really showing any sign of losing, but at the same time, he wasn't really showing any sign of coming back and putting any offense in. It was like the referee just got tired. It was like a stoppage in UFC, I guess you can say. If the world would have saw it that way that night, probably it would have been a lot better of a finish for Hell in the Cell. But since we've never had a disqualification finish or a no contest finish in a Hell in the Cell, and it's always been booked as, whatever goes inside of the cell. I mean, last year, basically Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy turned into a TLC match, I guess, and that's not the only match that they've ever used. I mean, just earlier in that night, Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch had a ladder, had chairs, kendo sticks, and everything else. But all of a sudden, somebody uses a wrench or a toolbox and hit somebody in the face, and that's going too far. So they're going to have the makeup here, Falls Count Anywhere match. The way I look at it here, I don't think we've ever had a championship change hands on a Saudi Arabia show. Buddy Murphy won the Cruiserweight Championship on the Australia show when he challenged for the 205 live Cruiserweight title on the Australian show. He was the hometown boy. It was time for him to take over, and that's what they did. He went there and he won. So you can't say that these shows have never had title changes, but, you know, everybody in the world basically thought that Roman Reigns was going to beat Brock Lesnar. Everybody thought that Braun Strowman would beat Brock Lesnar. You know, so we've had shows where we thought title change were going to happen. We thought Nakamura would beat AJ. We thought that to make this first show from Saudi Arabia a big deal, there would be title changes to make it like a freaking WrestleMania, because they were paying for a freaking WrestleMania. Instead, we get big names filling out the card, and we just get basically house show matches that we can see when we go see WWE live. Just happens to be that you can see the show with tons of pyro and lots of production on television, which is pretty cool for some people. Mainly, these shows I've only watched the main events of, and kind of been happy that that's all I really needed to watch. I think that the Rollins versus Bray Wyatt match is going to be a must-see match for the pay-per-view. I think that people are going to set time aside to make sure that they see this one. But when it comes down to it, you look at it this way. Seth Rollins is on Raw. Bray Wyatt is on SmackDown. SmackDown has the WWE champion in Brock Lesnar, which you can debate which championship really is the number one title. For the last few years, since at least 2016, the Universal title has been the number one title in the company. What title is the number one title in the company? Whatever one Vince McMahon cares about at that moment. It's been a while since the WWE Championship has been that, but then again, Brock Lesnar has that title. How much is Brock going to be on SmackDown? Does SmackDown need another World Championship with Bray Wyatt bringing the title over to SmackDown? And then at that point, does the Universal Championship become like a hot potato between Raw and SmackDown, trying to see that, you know, Fox wants to have Brock as one of the main guys. Fox also wants to have a championship so the show means something. So if both titles are on SmackDown, what does that mean for Raw? Do they just come up with another championship, a lot like, you know, during the draft when it looked like Teddy Long was going to, I'm sorry, I didn't say what year it was, but when Teddy Long said that he was creating a new championship for SmackDown, they had a fatal four-way. JBL won it, and it looked like they were going to crown him the champion, but right at the last moment, they announced Batista was the draft pick for SmackDown, moving over with his World Heavyweight Championship, and we never got to see the championship that was in the bag, and JBL was never presented with it, even though he won the match that most people presumed was going to make him the next world champion for SmackDown. So, in my opinion, the easiest way to look at this, I think Rollins is going to win this match. And for Rollins to win this match, it looks like another push for Bray Wyatt that's going to end, much like WrestleMania's 30 loss to John Cena, much like his World Heavyweight Championship win that he lost to Randy Orton after 1 month. Every single time that we think something's going to get going for Bray Wyatt and we love what we see, they say, nah, that's not what we want to do. So, as of right now, Rollins has burned down the fun house. It looks like Rollins is going to beat Bray at Crown Jewel. So, where do we go from here? I mean, Bray Wyatt jumping over to SmackDown, does he just build a new house and just start over from scratch? Who does he go after on the SmackDown brand? Or does he really just become a guy that, you know, people said was just going to be here and there along the way? He's not going to be there all the time because they don't want to burn him out. When there is a good idea, we'll bring Bray Wyatt out. And when there's not, maybe he'll just work house shows. I don't know what's going on, but I'm taking Rollins to get the win at Crown Jewel. Falls count anywhere. And what's the other? The match can't be stopped for any reason. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach sitting here on the couch on a Saturday morning. Yesterday, WWE ran a press conference in Las Vegas. They were hyping up the WWE CROWN JEWEL show that they're going to be doing on Halloween over in Saudi Arabia. And the fear of what I thought was going to happen, they're going to run 2 matches on the CROWN JEWEL pay-per-view having non-wrestlers in the main event. Cain Velasquez is going to be wrestling against Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, and they're also going to be running heavyweight boxer Tyson Fury against Braun Strowman. Now, these are two big matches that I think that are going to get some eyes on WWE. But as you can remember last year with the Crown Jewel pay-per-view, when WWE goes to Saudi Arabia and takes this Saudi money, it does not lead for the best press in the company. And WWE's main thing that they did was, well, we're just going to run the show from Saudi Arabia. We'll take their money, but on the WWE pay-per-view that we run on the WWE Network, we're just not going to say that we're in Saudi Arabia. We're just going to act like we're just in the middle of Kentucky, and this is just a regular WWE show on the network, even though there's couches in the freaking stands. So I don't know if we are a year later and basically the WWE, not WWE, I apologize, the United States versus the Saudi Arabia people, that old news has just died down and it's no big deal anymore. But we're going to have to see what goes on with this. But as of right now, the co-main event is going to be Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar going up against Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman. So here we go. Tyson Fury versus Braun Strowman. 2 weeks in a row, we've basically seen Tyson Fury show up on Monday Night Raw. Well, no, I apologize. He was on SmackDown 1 week, and then he was on Monday Night Raw the next week. I thought that they were basically going to prolong this storyline out. I even thought at one point, my first thought was that they were going to do Braun versus Fury at WrestleMania. And for the first year, Braun Strowman was going to have a real match at WrestleMania that people cared about, because WWE seems like all year long they care about Braun Strowman, and then come around January, they throw their hands up and they're like, we don't know what we're going to do with this guy come WrestleMania. 1 year he's winning the tag titles with the Kid. Last year, I think he even wrestled in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I can't tell you what Braun did at WrestleMania last year, but it's funny. He's one of the stars, but yet every year when it comes down to the big show, they just forget what they're going to do with him. It's a lot like when they had Big Show in the company. But Tyson Fury is going to take the Saudi money. WWE looking to just really blow that money out. I guess it's good for them because they're going to have somebody on Raw till Halloween to sort of ease the transition between SmackDown becoming the new #1 show. But Tyson Fury's going to get in there. Hopefully, he's going to be spending a lot of time that he has at the WWE Performance Center. That's why I thought that WrestleMania was a good way to have this match, because he could train. A lot of these actors, when they get into wrestling, they'll train a little bit. They'll, maybe do a weekend at the Performance Center here and there along the way. But I think right now, we're a month out from this match. You're going to be hoping that Tyson Fury is spending possibly the next 2-3 weeks in Florida, working at the Performance Center to be able to have a believable match. If you go back, WrestleMania, Lawrence Taylor against Bam Bam Bigelow, that was a main event match of WrestleMania back in the day. It was the year after Lawrence Taylor, one of the biggest linebackers in the history of the NFL, retired from the New York Giants. He's always looked at one of the most feared guys on the football field. You bring him to WrestleMania in the main event, the guy got gassed 2 to 3 minutes into the match, and he can't even celebrate his win at the end because he's done. Tyson Fury, I'm sure him being a heavyweight boxer, he's going to have some cardio, but, boxing and wrestling are two different things. And yes, you can use smoke and mirrors. You don't even really have to have that long of a match. They're not going to be wanting Braun Strowman to just be walking into a punch from Tyson Fury and getting knocked out like Mayweather knocking out Big Show at WrestleMania 24. Wow, we're talking a lot about Big Show right now. But then again, Tyson Fury, even though I'm sure he's getting a lot of money from WWE, you don't really want just Braun Strowman picking this guy up and body slamming him and pinning him 1, 2, 3 either. You got to give people their money's worth. You got to have a good show where people are going to be going on Twitter, cancel the WWE Network. You got to have Saudi Arabia throwing their hands up in the air. What are we giving you all this money for? You're bringing over these second-rate shows that nobody cares about. So, on one hand, it's WWE actually delivering a good show. I guess you can say, in entertainment value. But at the other hand, it's like you're bringing over all these people that WWE doesn't care about, and Cain Velasquez and Tyson Fury, to the point where now a casual WWE fan is just going to be like, forget this show. I ain't watching this. I'm going trick-or-treating. And just see what happens when I read a review from Dave Meltzer. So I don't have the highest hope for this. I don't even know where it's going to go. But I kind of honestly was really hoping to see a Tyson Fury, Braun Strowman tag team where they basically went up against the OC or something like that in a 3-on-2. I thought that was going to be it. So maybe they're building towards that at WrestleMania. But it looks like come, Crown Jewel, Tyson Fury is going to get paid. And more than likely, we'll never see them do it again. What do you know? WWE paid off an angle with involving Rey Mysterio and Brock Lesnar, and they paid it off in a big way. On the WWE's debut edition of SmackDown on Fox, we saw Rey Mysterio bring out his good buddy, Cain Velasquez, down to the ring, and Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar got involved in a physical altercation after Brock Lesnar's match against Kofi Kingston. Cain Velasquez left MMA. He is no longer in the USADA testing pool, and he went down, found some ways to get wrestling training. He was in a few things at the Performance Center, and it looked like he was going to have his in with WWE. But maybe WWE didn't want to get right in with him. Maybe they actually sent him somewhere to sort of get in the ring before being in their ring. Cain Velasquez was shortly involved with Triple Mania and AAA down in Mexico. It was then released that basically Cain Velasquez was looking to start some sort of a bidding war between New Japan Pro Wrestling and WWE to see where he would pick up and prolong his wrestling career. It looks as of now, WWE has signed him. There's no terms that are put out there. Some people even have been reporting that maybe this is just a one-off for Cain Velasquez to have a match against Brock Lesnar. I can honestly say that in this state of wrestling in America, New Japan is trying to get its foot in the door and start spreading New Japan into more of a household name instead of just being with the hardcore of hardcores that want to stay up until 2 or 3 in the morning and watch a wrestling show. And then at the same time, AEW is launching their company on TNT and with their debut show beating WWE's NXT brand out there. I think that if there's anybody that wants to get involved with pro wrestling and WWE thinks that there's a chance that they can do anything in wrestling to move the needle, even if it is just a little bit, WWE is going to sign that person and put them on the back burner or use them to their full potential that they can. So I think that if there is a chance that they got Cain Velasquez to sign for a one match, there's no way they really sign him to one match unless they're going to at least get a block of time marked up where Cain Velasquez isn't going to be going to AEW or New Japan for, let's say, a year. So I would bet that even if he's not going to be doing full-time appearances on Monday Night Raw or on SmackDown, that Cain Velasquez is going to be a WWE superstar for at least 365 days, I would think. They're going to have this match. It's going to take place on I think the name of the pay-per-view is CROWN JEWEL. I think they're using that again. It's going to be in Saudi Arabia. Definitely, it is going to be the main event of the show. Brock Lesnar bringing his WWE Championship that he just won from Kofi Kingston. There's people in an uproar that Cain Velasquez could win the WWE Championship in only his first match in the company. I don't think that would be the first time that it's ever happened. But if they did, that would be a monumental thing. In my back pocket, I'm going to think, we've seen these shows from Saudi Arabia. We've seen them from Australia. WWE puts up these big WrestleMania-like shows. They draw a huge gate. Definitely Saudi Arabia gives them a ton of money up front to make sure that they're going to make money off of this deal. They put it on the WWE Network so that fans in America feel like they get to sit and watch a wrestling show, and it makes the WWE Network feel like it's worth the money, and it keeps giving us more and more at the same time. But we all think about these shows, nothing ever really happens. I mean, the biggest match that probably went down is the WrestleMania rematch between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar inside the steel cage. We all thought that was going to be a lock, and Brock ended up winning. And we all thought that Roman was going to win the championship there. It was going to be a big moment. It was going to make Saudi Arabia feel that these shows were really worth the money that they were putting down, and it wasn't. We had another match where basically the Universal Championship was stripped, and they had to have a match between Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman for that title, and everybody thought that Braun's finally going to get that title. He's finally going to be champion. He's finally going to be that guy. And they went to Brock again, what everybody hates. So, I mean, they've had chances to give moments on the shows that people are going to care about, and they've never really delivered. So, you know, there is wrestling on those shows. Sometimes it's good wrestling. More often it's what you're going to see if you go to a WWE house show in your local stadium or arena or wherever you go see wrestling at. It's just going to be the normal house show matches. They just happen to be on the network and you get to watch them. So that's what makes me think that, you know, they're probably going to have a match. It's probably going to be some sort of a schmoz finish where they brawl outside of the ring and they can't keep them away from each other. And so the referee is forced to do the count out, and then the fight comes home. And I don't know if that means you do it at Survivor Series, the next big pay-per-view they do. They save it for the Royal Rumble, or they just flat out wait until WrestleMania. But Cain Velasquez versus Brock is the talk of the town. As of right now, my thing is I think it's going to be a no finish. What do you guys think?